Hello and good evening and welcome to BCL Beyond the Boundary again with myself, Simon Booth. And this evening is a very, very special edition indeed. It's our first overseas cricketer obviously played in the Bolton League, and I'm very, very happy to say we've got a legend of Bolton League cricket and world cricket in Rod Estwick. Good evening, Rod.
Good evening, Simon.
How's things, mate? You okay?
Not too bad. A bit cold here in Manchester, but I'm used to it. So
be nice to turn the temperature up. I'm absolutely thrilled. Obviously, that I've been able to catch up with you and obviously speak to you about your time in the Bolton League and obviously in the UK. I think I've got to mention a couple of people that's obviously let this happen. John Partington obviously got in touch with yourself, and it all came about from Dave Parkinson, who said, the Windies have just landed in the UK. Have you thought about speaking to Rod? And I said, well, if I could get hold of him, brilliant. So here we are. So again, I'm thrilled to have you here. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And obviously, first things first, let's get into yourself. Let's have an introduction to Mr. Estwick. Tell me where it all started, Rod. Where did you start your career?
Well, it started back in Barbados as a 13-year-old, playing club cricket in the Barbados Cricket League. Obviously, my older brothers, they were playing in the team, and once they were short, I would obviously get a game. But my first love was soccer. For a number of years, I declined not to play cricket. And I remember playing centre half, and my partner played Division 1 cricket for a club called YMPC. And I said, I'll come and watch you play one given Saturday when obviously the football season was finished. And I saw him bowl, and I said to myself, well, if he can play Division 1 cricket, which is the highest level of cricket in Barbados outside first class cricket, I can do that as well. And at age 18, I went down to YMPC. My first season, I got 50 Division 1 wickets, got called to senior national trials, played under 19 for Barbados that year. And the following year, I went to England to play for Bradford in the Yorkshire League. And that's the only time I've ever played a full season of cricket in Barbados. The very, very first year of playing Division 1 cricket was the only time I ever represented my club for all year round.
In terms of when you came to the UK, obviously you said that your first club was over in Bradford. What sort of era is that? What year is that? And then where did that go on in terms of your clubs that you played for in the UK?
Well, that was 1981. Ex-England spinner Don Wilson, who unfortunately has passed away now, saw me playing in a tournament in Barbados where Fred Ramsey used to bring players at the back end of the county season to play in a tournament called the Fred Ramsey Tournament, and I played for Don's side, and he asked me if I wanted to come to England, and obviously I jumped at the chance, and I went to Bradford in the Yorkshire League. I really enjoyed it. I had a very good season there, and then Todmorden, obviously being bat and bung with Yorkshire, obviously heard of my exploits in the Yorkshire League, and they came to see me, and I signed that same Saturday that they came to see me, and I then went on to have 3 years at Todmorden.
I've done some homework, and I've had the guys from the Bolton League do some facts and figures, and there's some phenomenal figures here. And obviously your 3 years at Todmorden, 82, 83, 84, you scored 1,219 runs and took 140 wickets. It's obviously a phenomenal start, to cricket in Lancashire.
140 wickets, Simon? I don't think that's right.
More or less?
A lot more than that. More than 140 in 3 years. I took 114 in the first season, 1982.
Right, so there you go. Well, my stat man needs sacking then. So
he definitely needs to go. Yeah, definitely.
We'll get that sorted. But obviously, Lancashire League, whether we've done our homework or not, I'm not sure. But great cricket, great standard of cricket. You had 3 great years there, did very, very well. One of the questions I want to ask you is, how did you end up in the Bolton League? And obviously, 85 would have been the first season at Social Circle. Is that right?
Yeah, that's definitely right. Obviously, prior to me was my half brother Sylvester Clark, who played for Farmers Social Circle in 1978, I think. Yeah, before he went, or 79, before he went on to Surrey, and then Ricky Skeet. Right, like I said, obviously Sylvester joined Farmers Social Circle in 1979, I think, or 80. And shortly after that, Ricky Skeet joined them as well. And I remember playing a benefit game for Ricky in 1984. Obviously, Alan Hutchison, who was then cricket secretary or whatever you wanted to call him, cricket guru at Social, saw me, offered me a contract. I signed a contract and I had 3 wonderful years at Social. Very, 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 very good standard of cricket, but also created some great friends that I still have to this day. Ian Edwards, Dave McAriff, Phil Eckersworth, a number of, Ian Nuttall, a number of people, David Hayes, who I still consider my friends, who were the backbone of the side for 3 years. And, not only on the field did we have good times, but we had good times off the field as well.
Well, I wanted to do my homework well on Social Circle, so I spoke to Eddie earlier on today, to be honest. So he exactly the story you've just told me, obviously, with Alan and Eddie coming watching you, Eddie being the new captain at Social. They came to see you at Todd and then obviously pinch you to come to Social Circle. So that's obviously, it's a great story, and I played some of my junior cricket at Social Circle. Couple of questions I want to ask you is, obviously, what were your first memories of Bolton League cricket and sort of some of the influential people? You've mentioned some people already, maybe people you played against, essentially?
Well, obviously, I remember the first game I played for Social. We played at Kersley, and we got bowled out. We got bowled out for 60. Me and Victor Sandiford. Victor was amateur and I was pro, and we played Kersley, and obviously, the massive rivalry between the two teams. And we got bowled out for 60, and Jimmy Amanath, the great Indian cricketer, was the pro, and they were saying the Kersley supporters were saying, well, this is all over. Jimmy will make that 60 runs with his hands tied behind his back, and all was kicking off, and I thought, well, this atmosphere is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And we managed to bowl Kersley out for 50 odd, and that set the tone for us that season. We went on to win the championship. Obviously, Kersley in those days was the side to beat, and we had good following. Big Bob and Jimmy Mack and people like that would be there every Saturday. Janice Brabin, they were there watching and spurring us on, and we had a good following. Really, really enjoyed my time at Social.
So obviously, in terms of your career at Social, and we've got a few more clubs to talk about as well, because obviously you went from Social Circle to West Orton. What was the reason for going to Social Circle? So I'm going to stoke up a bit of banter here now, but the reason for going to West Orton, and obviously a little bit about West Orton as well.
I know Ian Edwards would have told you that it's all down to money, but for me it was down to a challenge. I think that I'd done everything that I needed to do at Social in those 3 years. Obviously, in the 3 years that I was at Social, we won the league twice, and we won the Lancashire knockout, and we also got to the final. So I thought that I'd done really well at Social. And when I look at the teams around the league, I remember Little Lever being interested as well. But I felt that at West Orton there were a group of youngsters coming through: Ian Pilkington, Steve Inrick Parker, Nigel Heaton, Stuart Harrison, the two Hill brothers, Ian and So I felt that Ian and Graham, and I felt that it was a club that was on the up, and I wanted to be part of it. I wanted a new challenge, and I took it up.
And then you went back to Circle, is that right?
Well, yes, but that was split with 2 years in Aberdeen. I had 2 years in Aberdeen, and obviously again, played in Aberdeen with great success, but one thing I was struggling with was the cold. And, you know, as you get a little bit older and the knees get a little bit dodgier, and one thing you didn't want is you didn't want to be in such a cold place. So I had 2 wonderful years there. And then Ian Edwards again got hold of me and he said, well, do you fancy coming back to social? And I thought, oh my, you know, little Lever got in touch as well. But I choose social because of the ties I had with the club and probably the way I left and the way the supporters felt when I left. So I went back to social, and again, with probably, if I'm going to be honest, to the players that played in that side, was probably the weakest league team I've ever played with. We didn't have an overseas amateur while all the other teams had won, but yet we were still able to win the league. We were able to tie the league with Walkley, who was a good side at the time. But we really played really good cricket. We played good team cricket. That's the best team cricket that I've ever played in. You know, we had no superstars, and everybody chipped in at some stage. You know, vital catches, vital wicket. Gary Tong, Ian Edwards, tremendous team spirit. And it shows you that if you cut your ego out and you put the team first and you're prepared to do whatever the team needs, you can achieve success.
I think that's must have kick-started something off that, because that's been synonymous with Social Circle over probably the last 10, 15 years that I've played against them, that they've tend to gone to a model where they've had a professional, don't get me wrong, but not a figurehead, and they've been a real strong side, you know, again, no big characters, no big superstars, but again, you know, Social Circle have gone back to dragging some of their own junior players back, and they've had great success. So it must be something that kicked off, you know, back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I think all clubs must have an identity, and if that's what social identity is, then that's fine, because you must want to play for the club. And I felt that those players wanted to play for the club. They wanted to be part of the club, and there was no bickering, and we found ways of winning games. I mean, plenty of times we looked like we were going to lose, and somebody would come up with a brilliant catch, or Gary Tong would get a wicket, you know, and last wicket partnerships would win us the game, and all because of good spirit. But what I found, that they were not only good on the field, off the field they were excellent. You know, people were staying around the bar, probably drinking a little bit too much, but they were there and supporting the club, and they felt happy to be part of the club. They weren't having a one drink and going off. They were staying to last orders and revealing team spirit, and it was really, really good.
Superb. In terms of your stats, I'm hoping I've got this right, and obviously tell me if I've got them wrong, because I'm sure you'll know. 9 seasons in the Bolton League, 5,813 runs, so obviously averaging 650 a season, and 763 wickets, averaging about 85 a season. Am I about right?
Yeah, you might be just right. I mean, I didn't really. Obviously, I've been playing in the Bolton League for a bit longer than say in the Lancashire League. I could tell you the stats from the Lancashire League straight off hand, but I wouldn't be 100% sure the stats. But they do seem right, because obviously, if you're going to play 9 seasons as a professional and you're going to average 84 wickets a season and 600 runs, you're doing something right.
You're doing the job right, absolutely.
I hear players now saying they're having a good season and they've gotten 40 wickets and 500 runs, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, the standard of the league is disappeared so much that players can be happy with those kind of performance. I mean, if halfway July, when the club have the option of signing you back, or you can speak to another club, and you haven't got 60 wickets by then, something must be totally wrong, you know. So obviously, proud of those stats, you know, and proud of all the clubs that I've played at and made a contribution at, not just on the field, but off the field, you know. So very happy.
I'm going to come to a couple of things. Obviously, it's sort of off the field. You know, you've been spoke about in very, very high esteem by a lot of people. The Bolton League's reached out via Facebook and Twitter, and ask people to sort of pose questions to yourself, and I've got a list as long as my arm, so we'll go through that in a minute.
We'll get through them.
A bit of banter in there as well, so we're looking forward to that. But in terms of yourself, what's the current situation, Rod? What are you doing with yourself? Obviously, I know the answer to this already, but you're here in the UK at the moment with the Windies. Tell me about your current situation.
Well, I'm an assistant coach with the West Indies senior team. Some people want to tag it as bowling coach, but I think I'm more an all-round coach than just tag as a bowling coach. I help to coordinate the nets. I liaison with the head coach, to make sure that everything is running smoothly. I become the link between him and the players, and for me, it's a role that I'm really enjoying. After I left West Horton and went back to the Caribbean, I got a job in teaching at Commerce School, and I did that for 17 wonderful years. And it's testament to the work at the time that it's produced people like, even on this tour, Craig Braffett, Ralston Chase, Shane Dowitts, Jamal Warwicken, Keon Harding, Shane Mosley, and then you look at people around the world, Christopher Jordan, who's still playing for England, and when I look in that period, being cricket master at Commerce School that produced Sir Wes Hall and Sir Frank Worrell as well, and winning 65 trophies, being coach of the West Barbados under 19 for 4 years, going to 4 World Cups with the West Indies under 19s, so the list is long. I've coached in every department in West Indies cricket, where I've coached under 19s, a West Indies B team in first class cricket. I had a stint with the ladies in the 2018 World Cup, so like I say, I'm enjoying my role. I'm enjoying what I do. I'm passing on my knowledge that I've gained over the years. I've not only played and played in England, but I also played in South Africa as well, for Transvaal for a number of years, and had 3 wonderful years there, and also coach in Natal as well for about 7 years. So I've traveled a lot, and cricket has been really, really good to me, and I haven't felt like I've worked today. I get up every morning. I look forward to coaching. I look forward to interacting with young people and passing on my knowledge, and not trying to compete with them, just to make sure that they're doing the right things and they're properly prepared, both physically and mentally, to go out and execute the skills.
Obviously, coaching, passing on your knowledge has been something that you've been passionate about for a very long time, because I think one of my very early memories of yourself was being invited to go to Ampleforth College, where obviously you took, loads of different youngsters in and around the local leagues. I was very happy to be one of them. I had a good chat with one of your proteges in Mark Atherton a little earlier today, and we're chatting about that as well. So, what was the obviously you've already mentioned it, but the Ampleforth College and the coaching, what was the idea behind that? Because that's something that a lot of professionals probably wouldn't do when they was over here.
Well, we were obviously when I first came to England, Don Wilson was the person that brought me over, and he was the head coach, obviously, for the MCC for a number of years, and then he moved to Ampleforth College, and I felt that I owed him, a debt for giving me the opportunity. So once I got a chance, obviously I would assist him with the coaching, because he gave me that break, he gave me that opportunity, and like I said earlier, cricket has been really, really good to me. So I felt that once I was free and available, I was going to help Don in any way, and I really enjoyed the time at Ampleforth, to see young players coming through and developing and going on to be good cricketers, but not only good cricketers, decent human beings, which is very important.
Obviously, when you stop playing, you've obviously sent a lot of Bayesian and West Indian professionals back over to England to obviously compete over here. One that I can think of obviously would be Dwayne Smith going to West Auckland, obviously a big name in world cricket. Have you got any more up your sleeve that you can send over?
Well, that's something that's disappointed me in the last couple of years, that I felt that having played at West Horton and Farnworth Social Circle and done very, very well and understand the league and understand league cricket, that people are not getting in contact with me and asking me to recommend professionals for them, because I think that from that point of view, I have a lot to offer, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a West Horton or Social. Anybody that knows me would know that I'm an honest and upright person and straight person. I wouldn't give them a duffer. I would give them to somebody who I think would do extremely well. So, I wish that more clubs would get on to me and ask for recommendation for players. I was very, very happy to give West Horton glowing reports about Kyle Mears, and that has proven right. He's gone on this year to get 600 and odd first-class runs. He's here with us now in the 30, and he's an exciting prospect. And there's a lot more of those kind of players in the West Indies, but they have to trust him, and I don't want a fee for doing it. I just want to give young people a chance that somebody gave me. I'm not looking to be an agent. I don't want to be agent. I don't profess to be an agent. I just want to be able to say, this player is good enough. He's not only good on the field, he's good off the field, and he comes from a high level of discipline, and I think that he will fit in to your club, and he'll fit into what the league is doing.
Well, funny you should mention it. I've got a bit of a banter point here, so you're going to like this. Yesterday, I spoke to Martin Axford, who owns Farnworth, where I play.
Yeah, I know.
And he said, when you speak to Rod, tell him two things. Tell him, one, he needs to send us a professional over for next season. That's number one. And number two, tell him that he played for the wrong Farnworth.
Well, he might be right there, because Martin really looked after the pros at Farnworth. I remember people like Jerry Curtin, Baspert Drakes, Otis Gibson coming over and playing for Farnworth, and they would always say how well Martin looked after them. He's still very good friends with a guy, Tyrone Bobber Knight, who played for Farnworth as well. So obviously Martin's a very good guy. He's one of the good guys in cricket, and really made a contribution and still making a contribution now. And his dad, Tony, did the same thing, and cricket clubs needs us. They need the stalwarts who will work day in, day out, who will go in their pocket and put money to make the club better. So tell Martin, once he can, if he's serious, he can get my number from either you or Ian Edwards, who will definitely have my number, and I will sort him out a professional, because I really think the Bolton League, it's such a close league. It's such a tight league. I mean, I don't know what the standards like now. The clubs, all the teams in Bolton have merged, but when I played, it was unbelievable. The atmosphere, a local derby between Farnworth Social Circle and Farnworth, remember those days with Andy, Rod Tucker. We still have banters now, because he's an international empire, and I see him on the circuit, and Andy Jones and people like that, and we still talk about the times we had in the league, because it's such a close league. You don't have to travel far. It was I really enjoyed the 9 seasons.
That's one of the very unique things about the Bolton League. Obviously, it's so close and everyone knows each other, and the banter and the games between Social and Farnworth are still very much like that, to be honest. But I think a lot of these interviews that I've been doing with people and players and representative teams, that the standard of professionals that we can get hold of seems to be not dropping. That's the wrong word to say it, but it seems to be a lot of cricket all year round. So a lot of the clubs, a lot of the players that we would try and get hold of are either playing, other types of cricket, CPL in South Africa, in Australia. So I don't know, what's your take on that, Rod?
Well, yeah, obviously T20 is coming now. In the West Indies years ago when I played, you divided the seasons in two halves. Obviously, you would play first-class cricket from about January to April, and then you would head off to England and play from April to September. Now that's all changed because you've now got the CPL, you've got the global T20, you've got T20s popping up all over the world, and players can go off and make good money for 2 or 3 weeks of cricket, But I still think that for me, at age 20 or 21, a season in the Lancashire League or the Bolton League, Central Lancashire League, cannot do a player any harm. I really think it can do your game a lot of good. I know it made me a better cricketer. It's also made me a better coach because I had to think about the other 10 players involved with me. Normally, when you're playing these franchise leagues, you're only thinking about your own performance. So I would recommend to any youngster to get that 6 months of cricket in the leagues, so you can rub shoulders. And you're the professional, and you've got to be professional both on and off the field. You've got to go down to the club and do your coaching. So it sets you up for life after cricket, and that's the thing I'm grateful for, being able to start coaching from a very, very young age and giving back something to the club, and that's really served me well.
Brilliant.
But the players now, they're taking the money and they're not interested in coming for that length of time.
I mean, the impact that you had on Bolton League cricket is here to see, and I've got some questions from some people, so I'm going to go through a few questions, but on all these interviews that I've done, we've asked for a few questions, and we've had the odd bits and pieces. This got put out sort of a few days ago, because this has happened pretty quickly, and I'm going to mention quite a few names here of people who's reached out, and some things I can't air, I'm not allowed to say online, but you'll understand that. But some of the people who's reached out: Gary Tong, you've mentioned him; Paul Hart, Dean Eckersley, John Partington, Andy Forshaw, Adam Green, Ian Edwards, Kev Kirkpatrick, Graham Hill, Gary Chadwick, Mark Stewart, Ian Pilkington, Ian Taylor, Nige Partington, Dave Rushton, and Dave McIlwraith, obviously a hero of mine as well. So them sort of people have reached out. I'm gonna go with the first sort of question, if that's all right with you. Favourite character that you come across in the Bolton Cricket League?
I didn't know his name, but he was at Kersley. He would sit there in a wheelchair and he would barrack me all day. And the amount of times I muttered under my breath, I would love to take him up that hill at Eagly and just let him down the hill in that wheelchair. I cannot remember his name, but he used to barrack me left, right, and center. As soon as I walk in the ground, he would start and he would not finish till the game finished. But then I would go and have a chat with him, and he was all smiles. But people like that. And then I remember Big Bob at Social. Big Dave at Farm, so at West Horton as well. So there were a lot of die-hard supporters. That's what I liked about the league, that people were willing to support the teams no matter what. And you would turn up year in, year out, and you would see those people, no matter what the team is doing. I was fortunate enough to play in teams that were always challenging for the league. But you would go to Eagly and you would see their supporters. You would go to Bradshaw, you would see their supporters. And, it's just the whole league and the atmosphere and that will to win. And the league was competitive. We used to go to high words on the field, and I loved it because, you could, if they could encourage me and spur me on to do that a little bit more, then it was fine. And I felt that the supporters believed in me, and I was always willing to give 100% for them.
Well, no names mentioned, but there's been a couple of bits here that you maybe slung a couple of beamers in your time, so we'll ghost over that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no qualms about that. I wanted to aim and injured Craig Lavelle. You know, there's no doubt about that. I felt that the Bolton League was my turf. It was my domain. I was the dominant pro. I was the dominant player, and he was challenging that, and I didn't take it lightly. You know, I wanted to injure him, and we've since met and we've had a beer and things like that. But on that day, you know, he was on my patch. He was on my turf, and I wanted to let him know who was the boss.
Nothing wrong with that. Next question, dead simple. Favourite ground in the Bolton League?
It would be. I love bowling at Social. I really, really did. I found bowling at Social. I like the wicket. I like the wicket at Social. Surprisingly, I love batting at Farnworth. I think some of the best knocks I've ever played in the Bolton League was at Farnworth, you know. So for bowling, I would say definitely Social because the ball would do something all day. And for batting, I would say Farnworth.
Okay. Biggest hitter you've played with or against?
No doubt, Steve Dublin. No doubt about at all. Biggest hitter, but for me, the most consistent hitter was Collis King. He made 100 against us at West Horton, at Farmers Social Circle. Unbelievable 100, you know. And he was that type of player. So it'd be a close thing between those two. Dublin would probably hit the ball further through the ear, but I think for sheer power, Collis King would match him.
Yeah, I think them two names would literally be on the end of most people's tongues who's been in and around the Bolton League, and I got to see, you know, Steve bat as well. I wasn't not old enough to remember Collis, but I do remember him being destructive. I'm going to take these two last, but next one, greatest achievement while in the Bolton Cricket League.
I think the two of them, one winning the league the first time at Farmers Social Circle, and winning the Lancashire knockout with West Horton. Obviously, I won it with Social as well. But playing here at Old Trafford, I remember I was captain. I was amateur at the time. I wasn't a professional anymore, and we were struggling. And I remember getting a wonderful 80 looking around the stadium now, and then bowling my 8 overs for about 16 runs and won the man of the match. So for me, that was a great achievement, and I would rank those two very, very highly.
Superb. I've got two questions sort of on the back of this. These have come from Matt Parkinson. So, which batter did you not like to bowl at?
I didn't have a fear of batters per se. What I found difficult is if you were prepared to just grind it out, there was some. I think he's Chalky White's brother, left-handed White from Horwich.
Eric.
I remember bowling at him, and the only thing I didn't do is commit suicide that day. I remember asking Eddie to put all 9 men behind the bat because he just kept missing them, and he missed them. And I've never seen anybody miss a cricket ball for 15 overs, you know, and he would stodge around, and he was difficult to get up, but he wouldn't score. And you wanted to bowl at the professional, but you couldn't get the professional on the strike because he was never going to hit him. He was never going to edge him. And you're wasting your energy, and Grant Long will be going along at the other end, and you look up and Grant is 50, but you haven't really bowled a ball at it. I didn't know if it was their game plan or whatever, you know. Some people would say I should try and get him bowl at LBW, but he just missed the ball, and he used to frustrate me every season. And you think, well, when is he going to retire? When is he going to stop playing, you know?
Last question, obviously, same from Matt, and this will probably might upset a few, but I don't mind. Which bowler did you love to face?
Surprisingly, Mel Whittle. You know, I used to love playing Mel, and I remember one story. He was pro at Little Lever, and we were playing, And he bowled me a few swingers, and he said, I'll put a bell in it so you can hear it next time. And I said, well, that's fine. And unfortunately for him, he came a little bit close. And I remember hitting it about 3 miles over the buildings at the back at Little Lever. And I said to him, you'll have no problem finding it because you'll hear the bells ringing. I remember Jack Davis was the umpire, and he was having a go with Jack. Did you hear what he said to me, Barrett? And Jack said, you started it, you know. Rod's only finishing the war. You started the battle. I used to love playing facing Mel because I didn't think he had a lot of pace. People talk he was a tremendous bowler, but I felt that he couldn't hurt me.
Yeah.
You know, so I wanted to face him, and once the ball stopped swinging, I didn't think he was effective.
I've got a question from you. If you could rewind time and go back to sort of 85, would you do anything differently?
Probably make some more runs, you know. I didn't think that I focused too much. I mean, obviously I contributed with the bat. They would see that I made 600 runs.
Absolutely.
600 runs over a season. But when I look back at my career, for somebody who never practiced batting, I mean, I was only saying to the boys the other day that I probably batted. I played first class cricket for about 5, 6, 7 years, and I never batted in the first class nets ever. You know, I never focused on batting. I would, once the season started, I would get going. I would probably have the odd knock in just before the season started, but I never paid any attention to my batting, and that's probably one of the regrets. Because when I look at the stats, you know, for someone who never focused on it at all, you know, my stats are not bad, and that's one thing I regret that I didn't do more of, you know, practice, spend a little bit more time at my batting, because once I played 2 or 3 games bowling wise, that would all fall into place. And once I got on a run and got a good rhythm, I would continue week in, week out. But from a batting point of view, never really did enough work at it.
I mean, averaging over, 640 odd runs a season, you didn't do too badly. Would you have wanted to bat any higher? You know, or did you ever feel at any point that you would want to bat higher in the order?
No, I never felt that I wanted to bat higher. I mean, in those days, and I hear people complaining now, but I'm sure that Ian Edwards, you know, didn't like me because I would bowl 25 overs on the trot, and you didn't really want to be batting at number 4 after bowling 25 overs, you know, because obviously Eddie would go out and nick it in the first over, and you're in very, very quickly. So I was happy to bat at 5 and 6, just to give yourself a rest, you know, and try to be the glue between the lower half, because, you know, I had good partnerships with the lower half, you know, people like Stuart Harrison and people like that. We would have good partnerships. So I was happy to bat where I batted, but I just needed to spend a little bit more time, not just for league cricket, but I felt that I should have been able to turn myself into a good lower order batsman at the first class level and do a bit more. But in Barbados, you wouldn't want to risk your life having to face one of those quicks who wanted you to play, so I stayed out the nets.
Yeah, I think I'd done the same, to be fair. I saw a video on Facebook the other day with obviously the big 4 West Indies quicks, and, you know, no proper helmets and just earpieces. No, I'm not into that. Stay well away. Obviously, you know, in terms of your impact in Bolton League cricket has been absolutely huge. You know, you've got a lot of fond memories, and something slightly different I'm going to ask you that I haven't asked any of the other legends is because of your coaching prowess. You know, in terms of young guys listening to this now, you know, you're an international coach. You know, what 3 tips could you give a young player in the UK who's wanting to make it?
Listen to your coaches. That's the first thing I think that you've got to do. Make yourself coachable. You know, a lot of young lads, they go out, they make 30 or 40, and they think, well, they think they know everything. You don't know everything. You're now learning the game. So you've got to believe in your coach. You've got to trust your coach and have respect for the game. That's another thing I find that is missing now. you must respect the game. You must respect the opposition. You know, you lose a game, yes, you feel bad, but you must be able to. You can't shake hands now. You can knock elbows and whatever. But I'm thinking for me, those things are very, very important. If you can respect the game, respect your coaches, and train hard. If you want to make any success at this game, you've got to train hard. Michael Jordan said that the harder you train, the luckier you became. So I think that players have got to realize that you don't get anything without hard work. You know, you can't cut corners. You can't cut corners in a cricket game.
Yeah.
You know, you can't cut corners with cricket. You got to be prepared to work. You've got to be able to handle disappointments as well, failures, because there's more failures than success in cricket. Nobody's ever mastered the game, but if you work hard and prepare to work hard and prepare to spend time, then you've got half a chance.
Superb. Before we finish, Rod, I want to ask you obviously about, you know, Windies are here now. They're playing against England. You've got a 3-test series behind closed doors. You know, a bit of a sneak preview for the guys listening to this. How's it going to pan out? Are the Windies going to come and, you know, shake up England?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously the teams are pretty closely matched. If you look in the last 6 test matches, England won in 2017. They won 2 test matches and we won 1. And in 2018 or 19, I think, 19, they came to the West Indies and they lost 2-1. Yeah. So when you look at the 2 series combined, they've won 3 test matches and we've won 3. Obviously, they're going to be missing the 12th man because there's not going to be any crowds here. But they're going to start as favourites. It's their home patch. It's their conditions. I'm hoping that the sun would shine now from now till the end of July while we're here, so the pitches will become drier. We can go back to 1976 if we can get that kind of weather. That will bring us even a little bit closer to them. So, you know, we've got to prepare. We've got to try and work hard to match them because they're a very good side. They've got two fast bowlers with nearly 1,000 wickets between them, and any team that has that, you know, they're going to be a good side. They've got in Ben Stokes, one of the leading all-rounders in the world. They've got the captain in Joe Root, outstanding batsman. So they're a good side. But you know what? They've got 1 or 2 youngsters coming through as well. You know, so we've got to target those youngsters and try to create some pressure on them as a batting group. And they've also got Joe Archer as well, who might have a point or 2 to prove to the people back in the West Indies. Yeah.
Who's the guys to look out for in the Windies side? Who's gonna come and put some performances in?
Well, obviously, over the last 2 years, our strength merely has been our bowling. The 3 big men in Shannon Gabriel, Jason Holder, and Kemar Roach. But I think the one who might just spring a surprise to the English public is Azari Joseph. I think he's now at the point where he can take on the mantle of being the number 1 bowler in the team. It might not just be yet, but I think in 2 years' time, Azari will be ready to take that mantle on, and I think he's going to have a wonderful season if he stays fit. He's bowling at a good pace. The ball is moving around, and he's quite confident. And if he can stay fit right throughout this 3-test series, I think he could be one that really swings a surprise, because in 2019 against England in the region, he bowled very, very well. And he's improving all the time, as his stats would prove in the ODIs that he's played in the last year or so. So for me, he would be the one that I would think that would stand out. But it always happens in West Indies cricket that you come to England, a star is always born. In 2017, Shea Hope got 200s at Headingley. He's the first cricketer ever to do it in the first class game. So you never know. Some youngsters will come through. I just hope that we play as a team. If we can play as a team and all departments can function very, very well, then we've got a chance.
Well, obviously with yourself and the rest of the guys behind them, they're in good hands. So obviously, you know, I'm going to be supporting my guys. So, you know, fingers crossed. But hopefully we get to see some good cricket. Obviously, you know, we're going to be able to watch it on TV. And, you know, good luck with everything that you do. Thank you very, very much for speaking with me. I really appreciate your time. Good evening to everybody. And that's been Rod Estwick, Bolton League cricket legend. Thanks, Rod.
Thank you.
Good evening.